Ah yes, it is that time of year again, ladies and gentlemen. It's the time of year where we're graced by yet another iteration of the Call of Duty franchise. The staple feature of any Call of Duty game is its online multiplayer.
Yeah, everybody knows that.
Every year, however, we also get a story mode that rivals any summer action blockbuster with tons of explosions and fast-paced set pieces. And this year is no different, with Sledgehammer bringing on two of the most popular talents from film and video games, Kevin Spacey and Troy Baker. Let me begin by saying that I do not know how to make a video game. I really wouldn't know the first thing about programming or coding or any other terms that I've heard people say when they talk about game development. Honestly, I like to view the existence of these interactive experiences as minor miracles. So with that being said, I feel perfectly qualified making fun of Call of Duty Advanced Warfare's story from start to finish. Spoilers. The year is 2050-something. Golf holes are now flat, the Black Box 6 is the game console of choice, and Kim Jong is invading Seoul.
Team 1. Yes, sir.
We join Jack Mitchell and his best friend Will Irons as they prepare to set out on a grand adventure that actually looks a lot like the beginning of Halo.
Am I right, Marine? Sir, yes, sir. Damn right I am.
So Jack, Will, and a bunch of Marines jump to the rescue. After using the panel screen technology they borrowed from Titanfall, Will says something really awkward.
See you on the other side.
They crash land and very casually almost die immediately.
Look out!
But they're badasses, so they don't even mention it, and before you know it, they're back on track to save the day. This next scene is brought to you by the Wachowski brothers.
Too much damage! Fired off!
I can see we're off to a fantastic start here. Anyway, Jack is totally enamored with the selection of goodies in the Korean vending machines and totally forgets about the mission until his boss tells him to open this gate here. We're then introduced to the super cool badass dudes from the private military company Atlas. They're here to help the Marines and save VIPs from Kim Jong's evil rampage. After a little while, Will shares with us that he has some daddy issues.
They got the best gear, the best pay. Why'd you never join?
Wanted to serve my country, not my old man.
Then, we finally reach our primary objective. Our primary objective is to destroy the Shagohod, a mobile nuclear ballistic system. Oh, wait. I mean, it kind of looks like, you know, a little bit. Never mind. Anyway, they finally catch up with this flying tank thing, and Will plants a bomb, but the tank gets hungry all of a sudden and decides to bite down on his arm, which is unfortunate because, well, you know, the bomb, he just, yeah. So the tank begins to fly away, and Will says that really awkward thing again.
It's okay. I'll see you on the other side.
Jack falls off the flying Shagohod, and Will heroically dies in the explosion. And Jack gets away unscathed. Totally fine. He's gonna be, oh god. Oh god. So they bury Will, and at his funeral we get to experience the best pay your respects gameplay mechanics in all of video games. After the funeral, Will's father Jonathan Irons invites Jack to join his private military company Atlas and totally not get revenge on the US for allowing his son to die. Jack agrees, and Irons' business card magically turns into a submachine gun. Sweet. I'm sure Jack has his doubts about joining a private military company, but before he can voice his concerns, Irons assures him that
we are a superpower for hire.
Cool. That sounds totally on the up and up. Jack meets his new BFF, Gideon.
Pick it up, Mitchell.
Gets a new prosthetic arm and is trained in the ways of the Atlas super soldiers, which includes Spider-Man abilities, pushing things, running in circles, and totally broing out. Now that Jack is all super powered up, we have our first mission, and all he has to worry about is keeping it tight.
Keep it tight.
Jack teams up with a couple of planeswalkers to play Frogger, throw this guy into that pole, and go for a swim. Oh yeah, and also save some hostages.
Atlas Rescue Force, nobody move.
Once Jack and his team are on the move, Irons decides that now is a good time to explain the importance of this mission. Thanks. Anyway, Jack and his new Atlas team now needs to catch this guy called Hades, who is essentially Bin Laden 2.0, except instead of violent religious crusades, his goal is to purify humanity by destroying all technology. How does he spread this message? Well, through internet videos, of course. Wait a second, doesn't the internet use some kind of technology? I'm pretty sure it does. Hold on, let me check. Yeah. Hades causes a bunch of nuclear meltdowns, kills about 50,000 Americans, and 4 years later, we're still looking for him. Way to be original, Sledgehammer. Next, we meet Ilona, another Atlas agent. She's super awesome because she has the top score on all the video games and does cool stuff like this.
Meeting will go uninterrupted.
And this. But she can also use her womanly ways to charm the enemy. I don't know what that was. Just go on.
Keep your eyes on Hades, not me.
She helps us track down Hades, but before Jack and Ilona can catch him, he's mortally wounded and dies. And then comes back to life. And then he dies again, but not before giving Jack a flash drive made of technology. On the flash drive, they find evidence that Irons is doing that one thing where you cause a bad thing to happen and then show up just in time to save the day and make everyone like you. Just like the bad guy from The Incredibles. Remember where he was like, they put the robot and he tried to save the people, but it was his robot? Yeah. It's just like that, except without the tights.
Keep it tight.
So let me see if I understand this correctly, Call of Duty. Hades, who hates technology, uses technology to somehow acquire evidence that Mr. Irons, the head of the largest army in the world, helped him carry out his attacks on technology by covering up that he knows about said attacks beforehand, thus allowing Hades to succeed in those attacks. So in response, Hades tries to expose the fact that Irons knew about the attacks and did nothing by giving the evidence to Irons' own employees who, by the way, just mortally wounded him, so that hopefully out of the pureness of their mercenary hearts, they might do the right thing and turn in their boss. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you plot holes. If anything, Hades should be thankful to Irons for not trying to stop him. Hades wouldn't have been nearly as successful without Irons' willful inaction. And if he really wanted to expose Irons, he could have included this message in one of his videos. Instead, he does nothing for like 4 years. So now, Irons finds out that Ilona and Jack have the evidence and must be stopped.
You're insane! You're a monster!
But just in time, the two of them receive a phone call from a mysterious man claiming to want to help them. With the help of this unknown ally, they make their escape. This escape includes climbing to the top of the building, jumping off into the river, swimming into the sewers, dashing through an urban center, jumping into a speedboat, racing down the busy waterway, and climbing to the top of this building, all while being chased and shot at by the largest military in the world. And then when they get to the top of the building, they're greeted by Jack's old Marine boss, Cormac, who is now working for Sentinel,
a US-led multinational unit.
It's really very impressive Cormac was able to extract these two so quickly, especially considering that Ilona only found out about Irons like a few minutes beforehand. But maybe Sentinel had been monitoring them or something, I don't know. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. The part that doesn't make any sense is that this is not a helicopter. It's not an air vehicle of any kind. This is an elevator. Cormac rescues Jack and Ilona in an elevator. Cormac's escape plan was contingent on Jack and Ilona climbing to the top of this skyscraper so that he could step out of an elevator, decloak his fancy gear, and then ride down to the base of the building with them in an elevator. Moving on. Cormac tells them about Manticore, a vague threat on which we must gather more intel. Jack and Cormac discover that Manticore is a chemical weapon that's actually being loaded into an airplane right now. Like, seriously, right now. They're right over there. Look, there it is. There's the airplane. They should go there right now. So they quickly get to the airplane, plant a tracker, and then jump off the airplane into the river, which is conveniently located right next to the runway. Speaking of convenience, these two friendly divers immediately swim up to Jack and Cormac with oxygen tanks as if they knew where they were going to land. Like, literally within 50 feet of where they entered the water, which is even more impressive considering we learned what Manticore was, how it was being transported, and decided to jump onto this airplane within the last 70 seconds. There's more. Now that they're tracking the airplane, they need to intercept it and therefore intercept Manticore. So, Jack and Cormac do this really cool thing where they fly Rocketeer style and land on the wings of the airplane and plant these devices on the wings which seem to have the sole purpose of being able to cut wings off airplanes. This is all very cool, except Jack is on the wing that he's cutting off. Alright, that was close. They hijack the airplane, land it in an Antarctic field of snow, attempt to extract Manticore, engage in a firefight with Atlas, fall through a crack in the ground, make their way through a shockingly well-lit cave, get followed into the caves by Atlas soldiers for literally no reason, shoot a bunch more Atlas soldiers, and emerge from the cave and find themselves, wait for it, on top of a mountain. Yeah, they fall down through the ground like 2 or 3 times and end up out here. Anyway, they get Manticore back and seriously, who cares? The next mission begins with Jack and Gideon, who, by the way, Gideon has now left Atlas and joined up with Jack and Ilona by helping Sentinel. They're in a 2050s future copter that gets shot down by an EMP. Jeez, if only we had some kind of small, stealthy way of flying around from one place to another that's difficult to detect and shoot down. They managed to sneak through the forest, meet up with Cormac, sneak into an Atlas chemical facility, destroy a bunch of Manticore chemicals, escape in an experimental hover tank, and fly away without mucking it up any further. In this next scene, Frank Underwood, Irons, is addressing the UN and reveals he does in fact possess a chemical weapon capable of targeting specific ethnic groups. Irons declares war on the UN.
So let's be clear. I am here to solve the world's problems. And I believe the world's problems begin with you.
Meanwhile, the guys back at Sentinel HQ, which, by the way, there's apparently 4 guys that work there, discover that Irons is planning a preemptive strike against the US. How did they figure this out? Well, they cracked the encryption on the last set of uploads, obviously.
Talk to me.
We cracked the encryption on the last set of uploads.
Anyway, I really can't express accurately how contrived this next part is. Cormac puts together that the attack will most likely be in San Francisco. Fine, whatever, he figured it out somehow. So he sends Jack and Gideon to sit in a car, parked in a tunnel, leading to the Golden Gate Bridge. Why? No idea. Then a van speeds past and they give chase. Eventually, our heroes catch up to the van, open it, and outfly dozens of drones that attach to the bridge and detonate, causing the Golden Gate Bridge to collapse. Okay, so let's examine this situation carefully. In the next scene, we see that Irons has 2 ships directly adjacent to the bridge. Underneath the bridge is a gigantic US carrier. I don't know why it's under the bridge, it just is. So in order to launch his attack on the US fleet, Irons decides that the best course of action is to send a van full of drones through a tunnel, get to the middle of the Golden Gate Bridge, and defend it with a bunch of his highly trained mercenary soldiers until it launches its drones. Why not just launch them from your 2 ships? In fact, why destroy the bridge at all? If your target is the US fleet, you already have a bunch of troops on the bridge somehow. Why not just have them attack the carrier from the bridge? I'm no tactical mastermind, but obviously Sledgehammer just wanted an excuse to blow up the Golden Gate Bridge, and logic be damned. Because that's how you make the action sequence, mamma mia. Cormac meets up with Jack and Gideon and they take back the carrier.
Son of a bitch.
And then they play boom blocks with Iron's ships. Then Cormac says this.
Irons just murdered thousands of innocent people on US soil. Next, we hunt him down. And we bury him.
I really don't know what he's talking about. There are a few civilians running away on the bridge, and I found 2 sitting stunned on the bridge, but they're not even near where the bomb goes off. There's a few dozen soldiers near the middle of the bridge, but I can't find thousands of innocent people anywhere. In fact, half the bridge is entirely empty. There's probably a few thousand sailors on the carrier below, but they aren't all killed by the bridge. Are you exaggerating, Mr. Cormac? By the way, check out the carrier. I guess if you hire Kevin Spacey, you have to trim other parts of the budget. Wait, what was that? Wait, is that a bird? Ladies and gentlemen, this is not my doing. This is actually in the game. I seriously think they borrowed the birds from Birdemic. Okay, now it's time for a shock and awe attack on the Atlas base to finish Irons off once and for all. So, of course, it's time for these former Marine Spec Ops guys to become jet pilots all of a sudden, because, you know, that's the sort of thing that a soldier can casually learn on the side while training to be an infiltration specialist, an assault trooper, sniper, secret agent, drone pilot, dog walker, lifeguard, etc.
Etc., etc.
In past Call of Duty games, this would have been handled by placing the player in the boots of various soldiers and switching between them in order to experience those different types of gameplay. Of course, you don't hire Troy Baker and expect him to play just one of several main characters, so now Jack has to play all these roles himself, and we end up straining our ability to suspend disbelief. So on their way to the enemy base, they do what any respectable jet pilots do, and they fly through a canyon and destroy a dam. I seriously have no idea why we destroyed that dam. Anyway, Irons launches Manticore, killing everyone except his own troops. Jack, Gideon, and Ilona are taken prisoner since they apparently still had their Manticore inoculations from when they were with Atlas and aren't affected by it. But who are all these guys? Why are there so many prisoners? If Manticore killed everyone except the Atlas personnel, who are all these people? Did Irons just go out and arrest the whole world that afternoon and bring them back to his base? Seriously, this makes no sense and it's never explained. Then Gideon says,
"Stay alert. Any detail can make the difference."
When Irons visits his new prisoners, he gives them a little speech and then he shoots Cormac in the side. Then he takes a wrench and breaks Jack's new fancy prosthetic arm.
I gave you a second chance.
Earlier, we saw this arm take a knife and keep ticking like a champ, but 2 swings from old Ironsides and it's rendered completely useless. Oh, by the way, remember when Gideon said,
"Stay alert. Any detail can make the difference."
Well, I guess what he meant by that was that he and Ilona would just wait a few minutes and then do this. Here's another flashback. Remember this? This guy with the exosuit takes on 4 other skilled soldiers and beats their asses. Now, Gideon and Ilona, without their exosuits, overpowered 2 soldiers with exosuits like it's nothing. And here, I was staying alert thinking that any detail might make the difference. Nope. Instead of trying to come up with something interesting for a prison break, Advanced Warfare simply says, "Just watch while I break you out of prison, it'll be cool." The 4 of them make a break for it. Ilona and Cormac get separated from Gideon and Jack, and after a lengthy series of shootouts, Ilona arrives just in time to pick them up outside the base. In the back of the truck, we see that Cormac is not going to survive his wound. Of course, here he's obviously been shot in the chest, and here he was clearly shot in the side, not the chest. I guess that's what happens when one studio creates the in-game scenes and another creates the pre-rendered scenes, which, by the way, look incredible. Seriously, no complaints there. Then there's the obligatory, "It's gonna be a suicide mission, but we're the only ones who can stop the bad guys" scene. The final mission in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare starts with Jack narrating the plan. He says that
a frontal assault on Iron Stronghold using the 2 mech suits we found back at the base.
Wait, what mech suits? There was only one, and they left it behind because it was totaled. Seriously, do you see any mech suits in the back of this truck? This is probably the laziest excuse for a plot point in the whole game, and that's saying a lot. They wanted to get more use out of the mech suits in the final mission, so they simply will them into existence and hope you aren't paying attention. They drop the mech suits in the river so they can enter the base via this convenient hole in the wall, and literally walk directly into the Atlas base right next to the launch pad.
You should be right next to the launch pad.
Most of this mission requires you to walk down a few hallways firing your mech's OP weapons, completely owning your targets. Even on Veteran, this is probably the easiest level. It could make one wonder why we weren't using these things the whole freaking time. After Call of Duty Advanced Warfare pays homage to Metal Gear Solid 4's microwave hallway, Jack and Gideon finally destroy the rocket, which apparently contained all the Manticore. I guess Irons was trying to save on rocket fuel. With their mechs roasted, Gideon and One-Armed Jack fight their way through a few baddies, and after Jack wanes in and out of consciousness a few times, we find our heroes trapped by Irons. He hacks into their exosuits so they can't move, and does that cliche thing where instead of killing the heroes, the bad guy explains all his reasons for doing what he did and leaves them alive because...
I'm not a monster.
You're a monster!
You're a monster! I'm not the monster here, you are!
Jack breaks free of his exosuit, but can't free Gideon, so he chases after Irons for some reason. Oh, by the way, Jack, the script says you're gonna need a knife for the next scene, so... Yeah, there you go. Remember that gun Irons put in his pocket a minute ago? Yeah, I guess he forgot about that. Also, somehow we're at the top of the building now. I seriously don't know what's going on here. During the final confrontation, there's a dramatic scene that incorporates exactly 0 gameplay. You mash a button until the game ends, and the player's agency in this finale is completely negated.
Let me go!
Gideon is miraculously free of his exosuit, and now we're in absolutely no hurry to get out of the building. Also, I don't understand why Sentinel is firing missiles into the side of this building. If they're trying to level the building, there are bombs that do that with a single warhead. It's just another example of the flashy set piece taking priority over a believable, coherent set of events, which apparently no one involved in the direction of this story values or cares about. All in all, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare is a technical beauty. Dialogue is delivered skillfully, guns sound and feel better than ever, key assets are rendered brilliantly, and the multiplayer is still as fast-paced and fun as ever. But this story is really, really hard to stomach. So, in closing, I have one final word for the directors of this game.
I believe the world's problems begin with you.
Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, there's a like button there, so that's a thing. And if you share it with your friends, you'll get $1 million. Maybe. So now Jack has to play all these roles himself, and we end up straining our ability to suspend disbelief. Hades causes a bunch of nuclear. So with that being said, I feel perfectly qualified making fun of every aspect of Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. After the funeral, Will's father, Jonathan Irons, invites the newly disabled Jack to join his private military company. We're still looking for him. God damn it, phone. Because that's how you make the action sequence. Is that racist?